Hello, this is Arish Sareddin and I'm going to discuss activity 1 in chapter 2, which is fertilization and embryonic and fetal development, pages 22 and 23. Before we start explaining fertilization, let's review the gametes and the structure of the female's reproductive system. As you can see, this is the sperm, which is the male's gamete, and this is the ovum, which is the female's gamete. Fertilization is the union of these two gametes, and it occurs in the female's reproductive system. The female's reproductive system is made up of the ovaries, which are the site of production of ova, and it is made up of the fallopian tube, which carry the ovulated ovum, and it's the site of fertilization. Then it is also formed from the uterus, which is the site of fetal development. And as we know, the uterus is made up of the endometrium, which is the inner lining of the uterus, and the myometrium, which is made up of muscles, aid in delivery. And at last you have the vagina, which is the copulatory organ. Now, in order to explain fertilization, we will see an animation showing the pathway of sperm movement in the female reproductive system until it reaches the ovum, where fertilization occurs. As we said, fertilization is the union of a sperm and an ovum to form one cell that will divide by mitosis to form a baby. So fertilization is the story of all of us. Now, we will see in this animation the fertilization, how fertilization occurs. So the story began by sexual intercourse, where 300 million sperms enter the vagina. We will see in just a moment. So as we said, fertilization occurs inside the female's reproductive system. So here, 300 million sperms are deposited in the vagina. Then the sperms pass through the cervix, which is the uterus opening. In this stage, you have to know that the cervical mucus here in this stage thins out to allow the passage of sperms. Now, once inside the cervix, the sperms continue swimming to reach the uterus, as you can see here. Then, half of the sperms will pass to the first fallopian tube containing the ovulated egg, and the other half will pass to the empty fallopian tube. Okay? Now, at last, the sperms will reach the ovulated egg. Okay? Now, as the sperm reaches the ovulated egg, the union between the sperm and the oocyte is called fertilization. Note that here we should have Z, not S. Okay? So this is the union between sperms and ovum is known as fertilization. Now, once fertilization occurs, okay, so it will pass here. They are these you are not allowed to know. They are not included to know that how it will pass through the coronal radiata and the zona pellucida and the membrane of the oocyte. Now, when the sperm reaches the oocyte and fertilization occurs, we will have the fusion of the female and the male pronuclei. Okay. So after fertilization, we will have the fusion of the male and the female pronuclea, as you can see here. So by this step, fertilization is complete, and we will have a cell, a diploid cell with a 2n number of chromosomes. Okay. And the first cell resulting from fertilization is called the zygote. Okay, so the fertilized ovum is called the zygote. So the first cell after fertilization is called zygote. Now, this zygote this zygote immediately after fertilization will start mitosis. Okay, so immediately after fertilization, mitosis starts, as you can see here, and the fertilized egg starts its journey to the uterus where implantation occurs. Implantation is what? Implantation is the attachment of the resulted cells into the endometrial wall of the uterus. As you can see, this is the endometrium. So these cells will implant themselves in the endometrium of the uterus to continue mitosis and differentiation and form the fetus. In this slide, we will make a simple exercise by matching each of these cards, okay, to their corresponding numbers on this chart. I will ask you to pause the video at each exercise and try to find the answer by yourself. So, number 1, here it will be that during sexual intercourse, millions of sperms are deposited in the vagina. Number 2, most of the spermatozoa degenerate during their passage in the female genital tract due to the female's immune response. Number 3, which is here, it's fertilization when the sperms reach the oocyte. Number 4 is that the fertilized egg, which is the zygote, passes through the oviduct toward the uterus to implant. And of course, the last step is implantation of the embryo in the uterus. Now, this text is taken from your textbook. It's in page 22. It says, for a successful gamete meeting, the woman should be ovulating and have fluid mucus, healthy oviducts, and the sperm cells normal in quantity and quality. Okay? So, from this text, we can pick out the factors, okay, responsible or that lead to a successful gamete meeting. So the factors in females are first ovulation, so the female should be ovulating, should have healthy oviducts in order for the oocyte to pass to the uterus, and here they said fluid mucus. They mean that the female should have a thin cervical mucus. Okay? Now, and in males, we should have normal sperm cells in quantity and quality. In quality, we mean that the sperm should be able to move. The semen should contain nutritive substances to support this sperm in its journey. Now, this document shows the development of the zygote from zygote to fetus. You can see, as we said, zygote is the first cell after fertilization. It is a diploid cell containing 2 number of chromosomes. Up to 8 weeks, we will name it embryo, okay? And from 9 weeks till birth, it's a fetus, okay? So this is the baby inside the mother's womb. The first cell is named zygote. Embryo up to 8 weeks we call it embryo, and from 9 weeks till birth we call it fetus. Also in this slide we will make a further practice of the information we explained. Don't forget to pause the video and try to find the answers by yourself. In this slide we will match each statement to its definition. First, the process of union of male gamete with female gamete, of course, it's fertilization. The major process that leads to the transformation of the zygote into an embryo, it's mitosis. A human offspring during the period from approximately the 2nd to the 8th week after fertilization, it's an embryo. A fertilized egg, of course, it is a zygote. and an unborn human more than 8 weeks after pregnancy, it's a fetus. Now, in this slide, I want you to self-evaluate yourself by mentioning the definition of each statement. Okay? So, first statement is fertilization. What is fertilization, or define fertilization? Fertilization is the process of union of male gamete, which is the sperm, with the female gamete, which is the ovum. What is the zygote? A zygote is the cell resulted after the union of a sperm and an ovum. An embryo, this is the picture of an embryo, and it is a human offspring during the period from approximately the 2nd to the 8th week after fertilization. What are the factors that lead to a successful gamete meeting? As we said, the woman should be ovulating, should have thin cervical mucus and healthy oviducts, and in the male we have normal sperm cells in quantity and quality. Describe the pathway of sperm movement in the female reproductive system. We can say that during sexual intercourse, millions of sperms are deposited in the vagina. Then the sperms pass through the cervix and the uterus to reach the oviduct where fertilization occurs. Then the fertilized egg, which is the zygote, passes through the oviduct toward the uterus to implant. We still have the table in page 23. This functional diagram summarizes the table in figure 17, page 23. It shows the fetal growth and development throughout pregnancy. So we can see that at week 8, the size of the embryo is 3 centimeters. It weighs 1 gram. We have facial features. The arms and the legs are visible, and the heart is already beating. As you can see, this is the picture showing the embryo at week 8. At week 16, the size is 18 centimeters. It weighs 225 grams. Clearly defined features, and the sex can be identified. In week 24, the size is now between 27 and 35 centimeters. It weighs 800 grams. Hair and eyelashes are visible. The baby can suck his thumb. The mother can feel his movements. In week 36, the baby's development is complete. His eyes are open and ready for delivery. Now, in this slide, it's as an assessment. You have to try to solve this exercise, okay, in order to test or evaluate yourself. And see you later.